Hello and welcome to the Goggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. On the menu today, gentlemen, we're going to talk about Alexey Navalny, the West's favorite Russian opposition figure, and his medical condition, its implications, what it all means, and what is the next step. I'm joined by Dmitry Babich. He is a writer and analyst at the InnosMe Internet Media Project. And of course, we have George Szamuely. He's a writer, commentator, and a founding member of this channel. And I'm Peter Lavelle. Okay, George, let me go to you. There's a lot in the media about Navalny. Explain to our viewers who he is, who you understand him to be. Go ahead.
Well, he's somebody who is dubbed as the leader of the Russian opposition. He, of course, is nothing of the sort. I mean, the polls suggest that he enjoys no more than about 2% of support among Russians. He has never been a serious political force in Russia. He is a serious political force in the West, and the West have cultivated him as the alternative Putin. He has been convicted of corruption, which has prevented him from running for election. And he's also a nationalist, given to all kinds of nationalist pronouncements, far more aggressive and jingoistic and racist than anything offered by any member of the Russian government. Again, the West overlooks all of that, focusing instead on Navalny's good looks and general kind of charm.
Speaks English.
And now he's supposedly poisoned, which is only claimed by Navalny's family, Navalny's supporters. No evidence has come forward. In fact, the Russian doctors deny that he's been poisoned. But it doesn't matter as far as the Western media are concerned, because that narrative is now established. He has been poisoned on the orders of Putin. So whether the German doctors, where he is now, find any poison or not, it really doesn't matter. The narrative is set. He has been poisoned. If they don't find any poison, that's because the poison has magically evaporated from his body.
Dima, it did stay with his popularity within Russia. I mean, there were protests a few years ago, and he was very much at the center of it here. And he has some traction in Moscow. I won't deny that. But one of my quips have always been that a lot of his supporters aren't old enough even to vote. So, I mean, and he isn't a household name. I mean, a lot of people know who he is. Most people don't take him seriously at all. And that has been my experience here. What is in play? Is he just trying to get the attention of the West? Is this just a show? And we have events going on in Ukraine. I'm sorry, in Belarus. I mean, is this all connected somehow? Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if it's connected. I think that maybe not, because these are separate, and the West would probably prefer to concentrate on Belarus right now. It's a much bigger fish than Navalny. But I would like to say that still what happened is a tragedy, and it is unpleasant, because he obviously suffered. We don't know the reason. Maybe he was not poisoned. Maybe it was some problems with his health, as the majority of doctors who treated him in Omsk suggest. But anyway, if a person suffers such an acute pain that, a plane has to land, make an emergency landing, that is always unpleasant. So my sympathies are always with the person who suffers. But I agree with George that politically I see no reason why he would be now dangerous for the Russian government. He was basically losing speed in the last few years, I would say, not even months. You're right that he had some traction in Moscow, but that was several years ago. He got 27% of the vote during the local elections, And that was largely due to a very good attitude to him from the liberals in the Moscow city government. I remember very well how the campaigners for Navalny were allowed to campaign inside the metro. You know, they were the most active ones. There were all these, I would call them propaganda cubes, you know, campaign cubes, you know, championing his personality, basically. He was the only candidate who had a personality cult at that election. And yes, he got 27%, but that was the end of it. Since then, he never made any serious gains, you know. So if we talk about suspects here, I would say that the last person to be interested in Navalny poison now is President Putin, you know, or the Russian elite. If someone is interested, that is someone who has been staking on Navalny, who is seeing that he is basically losing everything. You know, he's getting older.
See, that's my point. Just getting back into the headlines, getting back into the consciousness of Western policymakers. You know, George, I mean, if Navalny is such a threat, why would they land a plane for one man in pain? His family, presumably himself, said they wanted to go abroad. I suppose the Russian state's going to pick up the tab to send him to Germany. I mean, if he's such a reviled, threatening figure, why is the state bending over backwards to make sure that he's okay?
Yes, that's right. And you could also ask, you know, why is it that the Russian state keeps trying to poison people and fail miserably every time? I mean, you know, we had the Skripals a couple of years ago. Now we got this. So you think, you know, Putin is supposed to be this KGB mastermind, and yet he's doing something that is doomed to failure. No, I think that's exactly right. That in fact, if the Russian government had insisted that he not be transferred to Germany, it could have done so, and reasonably and within the law, by saying, well, you know, he's not in a fit condition to travel. He's a Russian citizen, and you know, we don't trust you know, foreign governments to provide him with the proper medical treatment. He can go when he can actually stand on his own two legs, and then fine, we can fly him out. But instead, they flew him out to Germany while he was in a coma. So in fact, as you say, the Russian government has actually bent over backwards to help him and to, you know, make sure that he gets proper medical treatment. Even though, to be honest, you know, I don't know what the German doctors are going to claim, because this may well be a case of, remember, Yushchenko, the former president of Ukraine, who also claimed he was poisoned. And lo and behold, we had Western doctors who said, yep, he has been poisoned. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if the German doctors suddenly come along with, say, with a finding, yep, we've definitely found some toxic material in him.
Okay, well, I would hope that wouldn't get to that point. Or that means that, you know, again, you know, with the COVID pandemic, it should be all about science, not about politics, and I hope that isn't the case here. Dmitry, I'm going to give you the last word here. I mean, where does this story go?
Well, of course, there will be accusations, but I agree with George. Let me just say it. It became a common situation. Vladimir Kara-Murza claimed he was poisoned, and somehow he suffered acute pain, but he never died. And now he's suing FBI in the United States for not taking this problem seriously, for not finding any evidence that he was poisoned. Then the same story now with Navalny, when he is supposedly poisoned, but not to the end. With Yushchenko, the former president of Ukraine, let me tell you, few people just kept track of it, but finally he claimed that he was poisoned not by Russia, but by the Ukrainian nationalists. You know, his opponents inside his own camp. So this story with poisonings, I think it's a powerful propaganda weapon, you know. You start the story about someone, and then you move the discussion into you know, discussing whether Putin gave an order for it or not, you know, as if it was already established that the Russian government is behind it. Let me remind you that in England, you know, with the Skripal, somehow this substance just after these two Russians left, stayed in Britain for 4 months and poisoned another city. So how can all of this match up? I just don't see. I would say that we should take these stories with poisonings with a grain of suspicion, because obviously someone, not the Russian government, but someone previously supporting these people might be behind it, because the people supposedly poisoned are always, they are not the real leaders of opposition. They are usually the spent forces, the Trumps of yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, at the end
somehow
of the day,
when they become
to ask the question, and it's the question I always ask when something like this happens: who benefits from it? The Russian state never benefits from any of these things here. I mean, you really have to be counterintuitive in looking at this here. Again, without any evidence being presented that there was some malfeasance here, this is propaganda. And until I get evidence, I'm going to maintain that position. I want to thank Dmitry Babich and George Szamuely for joining the gaggle. And for those of you watching, please like, share, and subscribe, and a lot more is ahead.